ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताकस्वामिनिधि नामिने नमाचार्यपादाय नित्यकृपाप्रदायिने गौरगदादामदाय नगरग्रामतारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. First of all, let me express my sincere gratitude to ISKCON Extension Team Kochi for having given me this opportunity to say a few words in glorification of Jagadguru Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's really heartening to know that Jaladutolsav is being celebrated to commemorate the day Prabhupada set foot in Kerala on 21st August 1965. After he started his journey from Kolkata on board Jaladuta on 13th August 1965, he had a stopover in Ceylon, that is Sri Lanka, before he arrived Kochi. He was in Kochi on 21st and 22nd August, blessing us with his abundant mercy. We can say that it was from Kerala, God's own country, that he started that historic journey to the West. Certainly, he must have received the blessings of Sri Padmanabha Swami and Sri Guru Ayappan. Totally surrendered to Krishna and following his Guru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami's instruction to go to the West and spread Krishna's message, Prabhupada did not think of the pros and cons of such an expedition. He was almost 70 years old. He did not have any contacts in America except one Dr. Ramamurthy Mishra. He had no money except 40 rupees when he started his journey. He had minimum luggage. His main luggage was a trunk of books like Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita and some manuscripts of his translation work. The journey was difficult, at least initially. As soon as the ship started sailing, Prabhupada became seasick and started vomiting. 3 days after the ship left Kochi port, he had 2 heart attacks on the way. The sea was rough and the ship was being tossed in the waves. But he did not panic because he believed that everything happened according to Krishna's plan. In his biography, Prabhupada Lilamrita, it is said that one night during this journey, Prabhupada had a dream in which he saw Krishna and he seated in a small boat. Sitting on one end of the boat, Krishna was rowing the boat while Prabhupada sat on the other end, watching him in utter transcendental pleasure. Surprisingly, From the next day onwards, the journey was so smooth that the captain of the ship remarked that he had never had such a smooth sail in his career as a captain. After 30 days of journey, he reached the shores of America. In the beginning, he stayed in the home of Dr. Mishra, but soon moved to a storefront. He did not know how to begin his mission. He did not have definite plans. He just let himself be guided by Krishna. He would go to a park and chant the Hare Krishna mantra to the accompaniment of his kartalas. That was the time when America had the counterculture of the hippies. Hippies were people who were disillusioned with a life of material opulence. They had reached the zenith of material happiness and enjoyment. They still felt unhappy. They did not believe in being clean and tidy. Therefore, they seldom took baths or cut their hair. They believed in free sex and lived with partners without getting married. They were looking for something higher, which they themselves did not have an idea of. Some of these hippies happened to see Prabhupada sitting in the park and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They were intrigued. They did not know what he was doing. Out of curiosity, some of them went up to him and sat in front of him, just listening to the mantra, not understanding anything about it. But they were attracted by the appearance of the Swami, his shaven head and saffron clothes, and the divine halo around him. Very soon, they became regular visitors to Prabhupada's place. He talked to them, patiently listening, answering all their questions about Krishna, India, and the ancient Vedic wisdom. They were the first disciples of Prabhupada. It was with the help and support of these first disciples that Prabhupada got his International Society for Krishna Consciousness registered in New York in the year 1966 and started his mission in full throttle. Perhaps we must say that Prabhupada did the best of service to the American people because he could change these hippies and convert them to God consciousness. Gradually, they became clean in body and mind and started absorbing the message of Krishna. Ultimately, the hippie culture dwindled and disappeared from America. In 1965, he went to America with a mission to spread Krishna consciousness. In 1977, he left this world. Within this short span of 12 years, he did wonderful things. He traveled extensively around the globe, establishing ISKCON centers and bringing thousands of people under the umbrella of Krishna consciousness movement. Prabhupada, who got a complimentary ticket to travel on board a cargo ship to America, made at least 14 trips around the world to propagate the Hare Krishna movement. He managed to build beautiful temples for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. It's not easy to accomplish this. He had to face so many challenges, especially while constructing the Radha Rasbihari temple in Juhu, Mumbai. His Holiness Loknath Maharaj, in his book Bombay is My Office, has given detailed accounts of how Prabhupada and his white elephants, that is how Prabhupada used to refer to his American and British disciples. So Prabhupada and his white elephants struggled to build the temple. There were legal battles and threats of physical attack. Once, even the temporary shed in which the deities of Radha and Rasbihariji were installed was vandalized and destroyed by hired hoodlums. But Prabhupada was not going to be intimidated by such thuggery and gundaism. He had full faith in Krishna and was totally surrendered to him. Therefore, soon all the hurdles were removed and the beautiful temple was built, which is a landmark in Mumbai today. Prabhupada liked to regard Mumbai temple as his office, while Vrindavan was his home. Certainly, he must have been a very satisfied and happy soul when he left this earth. Even while he was leaving his body, he gave a lesson to his disciples. He taught them how to leave this body, how to die. He taught how one can be detached from the attractions of this material world and be attached to Krishna always. Lying in the bed, he was dictating the purports of Bhagavatam to the dictating machine. Till he breathed his last, he was conscious and was engaged in Krishna's service. He never complained of bodily pains, nor did he utter a word other than those related to Krishna. His Grace Shyamasundara Das, who was a close associate of and secretary to Prabhupada for 7 years, says in his book, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, to quote, Srila Prabhupada changed the world. When he came to America from India in 1965, few Westerners knew the deep spiritual truths behind ancient Vedic culture and civilization. Within a decade, most humans on the planet had heard the Hare Krishna mantra, unquote. Talking about Prabhupada's energy and enthusiasm to work for Krishna, he says, quote, I never saw him sleep, and I never saw him making an error of any kind, unquote. Srila Prabhupada was not an ordinary human being. He was sent by Krishna to this world to fulfill a mission. He was the divine representative of Krishna, who was sent to propagate the message of Krishna around the world. Today, the ISKCON movement has grown so large that millions of fallen souls have taken shelter under it and have realized the true meaning and purpose of life. He was a true spiritual leader in the Guru Parampara system, who took the Sankirtana movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to every nook and corner of the world. The best way we can pay homage to him is by reading his books, following his teachings in letter and spirit, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and by reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in pure mood of surrender to Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.